I chose my intervention to be foundations, and the reason I chose to research foundations was because my sister's been raving about it for a very long time. She's a special education teacher, and she's known at her school as the foundations guru. Many school districts across the country and all over New Jersey use foundations, so I figured I should know something about it since I've never used it, and I was curious. So on the Foundations website, which is part of the Wilson Reading Program, it says that Foundations is a multisensory, structured, systematic, cumulative, and explicit program with a clear and thoroughly documented research basis. The program focuses on student development by differentiating instruction and actively engaging students in their learning. Foundations at the Tier 1 level is for students in grades kindergarten through 3rd grade. They would receive 30 minutes a day of whole class research-based instruction, so it's good teaching for all students. At the Tier 2 level, it is targeted instruction, targeted intervention for students at grades K through 3, particularly students who are struggling or in the lowest 30 percentile. So they would receive 30 minutes a day in either small groups or one-on-one instruction 3 to 5 times per week, in addition to the standard whole class instruction that they receive in the classroom. And the Tier 2 intervention would be performed either by the classroom teacher or by a reading specialist. A lot of schools don't have the Tier 1 component. They just use the Tier 2 component of foundations as an intervention. And if this is the case, then students need 5 times a week. They need instruction 5 times a week for 30 minutes. And then there's also a Tier 3 component of intensive intervention, but that's not part of foundations. So for Tier 2 instruction, students would be getting instruction in something they needed. Maybe it was, I don't know, short vowels or sight words or whatever the intervention is that they needed, in addition to what everyone else in the classroom was learning. Foundations does not claim to be a comprehensive reading program. It includes reading strategies, comprehension strategies, but it says that the program must be combined with, in addition to a reading workshop and writer's workshop and guided reading. The components of foundation are, they emphasize phonemic awareness, phonics, high-frequency word study, fluency, vocabulary, handwriting, and spelling. Foundations is based on the principles by Orton Gillingham, so it is a multi-sensory language program. They make use of a lot of tapping to blend and segment words, skywriting. They do drills with sounds and trick words, which are their high-frequency words that don't follow the rules of English. They have vocabulary instruction. They have a comprehension strategy component. There's a lot of manipulation with letter tiles using letter boards and dry erase boards. So the students have a lot of practice with what it is that they're learning. So here are some examples of what the drills look like. I'll show you one of them. So a typical lesson would have teacher drilling sounds, then the student drilling sounds. Then they have a trick word drill, that they have the sight words on flashcards. Then the teacher would introduce a new concept. It might be the word of the day, Then they would practice on their letter boards or write their new words in their student notebook. And then at the end, there's a comprehension component. Foundations comes with text that relates to the sound or whatever skill that the students are learning. So they practice. They write sentences with the words, the high frequency words that they're learning. The students learn the 6 syllable types. They learn to tap out the sounds to blend and segment the words.
I'm going to do some demonstrations with tapping out words for foundations. First, we're going to start with digraph. Okay? A digraph has 2 letters but only 1 sound, so it gets 1 tap. Ch, I, p, chip. Okay? We also have 3-letter glued sounds. Okay? When we tap those out, we use our 3 fingers and we glue them together. So you would tap this out, l, lung. For our syllable types, we'll first start with cat, which is a closed syllable, or short vowel sound. Each letter gets its own tap. K, at, cat. Vowel consonant E, syllable type. Okay. Since the E is silent, it does not get a tap, so this is just tapped with 3 fingers. J, O, K, joke.
As far as the research goes, this is right from the website, from the Wilson website. It says that since the publication of Foundation, several impact and efficacy studies have been performed in schools across the United States. The consensus across these studies is that when implemented properly, students using Foundations achieve greater gains in foundation literacy skills compared to students using programs previously implemented by the schools. So on their website, they have a lot of research showing students who improved their reading scores on standardized tests and who are no longer behind or struggling. There aren't as many research studies on Foundations specifically as there are just on the Wilson Reading Program as a whole, but these 2 studies are just a sampling of many studies on the Wilson website. They also have on their website the study done by the What Works Clearinghouse from 2007, showing that based on one study that the What Works Clearinghouse reviewed, they found the Wilson Reading Program to have positive effects. But I looked at a more recent study by the What Works Clearinghouse in 2010, and they say that no studies of foundations or foundations that fall within the scope of the protocol for What Works Clearinghouse, evidence standards, none of these studies at this time show that foundations is effective or ineffective. So at this time, there's no consensus. Another research study also showed there's insufficient evidence to conclude that Orton-Gillingham or Orton-Gillingham-based reading instruction meet the requirements of scientifically based reading instruction. According to the Best Evidence Encyclopedia, they also studied programs for struggling readers, and they categorized them based on findings of strong evidence or effectiveness, moderate evidence, limited evidence, and insufficient evidence. And they only found 8 programs that fell into the top category of strong evidence of effectiveness, and 1 in the moderate evidence category. And of all those 9, none of those programs were Orton-based. But a lot of the Orton-based categories did fall into limited evidence or insufficient evidence. So I thought that was interesting. So I definitely think that as I learned about the program, it does seem to be based on research-based principles. There's a lot of explicit learning, modeling, direct instruction, and systematic instruction. There's a lot of repetition and multiple opportunities for students to practice. It seems to be engaging, kinesthetic, multisensory. They address the 5 components of reading instruction. So I think there is a lot of positive to it. And it does say it's not intended to be or replace any reading program. It's a supplemental program in addition to, your Readers and Writers Workshop. But I definitely think that there needs to be more research on its effectiveness. And the research needs to not be connected. The research should not be done by Fundation. Well, it's the Wilson Reading Program. So I hope that I gave you a nice overview of Fundations, and I hope that you found this to be informative. Here are my references, and thank you for listening. Have a good night. Bye-bye.